Welcome to Lessons in Leadership. Steve Adubato, Mary Gamba. And Mary, we have our favorite Lessons in Leadership guest today.
I'm so excited. I love every time we have Greg on. I always learn two things, an interesting quote and a new book that I need to read.
Greg, I swear, I tell everyone they're great all the time. I don't always mean it. I've never said this is the greatest guest we've ever had. Mary, is that true?
That is actually 100% true. And we're in our 207th episode, I want to say.
Yeah. You feel the pressure, my friend?
Totally. Well, good. We like pressure.
Like a 4-foot pot in the Masters?
There you go. And we're going to sink it. You're going to rattle to the bottom here.
Hey, speaking of, there's no transition here. Speaking of innovating, pivoting, not just adapting, but leadership being about new initiatives. Greg, do you mind if we show a clip of the series Our Infrastructure Matters, which is seen Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. and Sunday at 11:30 a.m. on News 12 Plus, our media partner? Do you mind if we show that clip?
Yeah, go for it.
Take a look at Our Infrastructure Matters, produced by the International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 825. Hey, Greg, that didn't just happen. It was an idea with an action plan, a strategy, and implementation. Tell us about the history of Our Infrastructure Matters.
Well, with news in general being a challenged environment, we thought it was necessary to tell the story of infrastructure. On the promo for one of your other shows, you talked about making sense out of infrastructure, and that's something that we wanted to do. We want to educate the public about how things work, why things work. You know, we expect to get in the shower in the morning and turn the water on and have it work, and have our lights work, have the stove work when we turn the gas on. And there's a lot of stuff that goes on in the background that makes this happen and keeps it maintained, keeps it running into our homes. And we thought it was important to educate the public on what these things are, how they work, the necessity of keeping them in a state of good repair, and making sure that we can expand that infrastructure to meet the future.
I'm curious about this. Before Mary jumps in, we'll put up the website for the International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 825. To what degree do you believe, Greg, and P.S., Mike McCarskey, who's on the team and a leader when it comes to media and communications. Mary, what did he just tell you? What did McCarskey just tell you?
That, if I'm not mistaken, you won a major award. I believe it's called the Hermes Creative Award for Educational Television, and you won an award for Our Infrastructure Matters. So congratulations and high five on that. That's outstanding.
Well done, Greg and Mike. How about this? As more folks in the labor community find out about the fact that, because this isn't being done by most organizations, most labor organizations, do you believe that, is part of the strategy to get others to do this in other trades, folks in the labor movement, or is it just, it's our thing and that's it?
It's our thing right now, and that's it. We will all benefit from the education, which is fine by us. If others do it and amplify it, better. But this is a concept that we came up with, and we're going to do it. We're in this for the long haul, and we're going to keep producing shows and segments and educating the public about how important it is to keep our infrastructure robust and healthy.
Check out the website as it comes up again. Previous episodes are seen on, you can also check them out on the website. Mary, jump in.
I was so excited, Greg. When you shared that link with me, I didn't know what I was about to see, and I clicked on the one. I watched all of them since, but the first one I watched, I happened to be on a train going to New York City, and it was the one talking about how the tunnels were created and maintained and what went into it. So great job on that. We'll put the link up so people could check those out. You talked about sometimes you just have to do it, and we learned from you the concept of strategic doing. strategic doing. You would put us in touch with Maureen Ennis. We had her on. Check out stand-deliver.com to see her segment. Talk about your perspective of what strategic doing is and tie it back to the work that you're doing at the operating engineers.
Sure. This is about picking things inside of our organization or anybody else's where you get things done. It's the old GSD things that you hear people talk about these days. And we sit the team down and they...
Is it get stuff done or get something else done?
Well, it's stuff. We're on public television, so...
Well, we're also in New Jersey. No, okay, leave it alone. Go ahead.
People can fill in the blanks, Steve.
Get stuff done. Go ahead, Greg Lalevee.
Yeah, so the team sits down and collaborates in smaller groups, and they whittle down and narrow down the challenges that they feel the organization is facing, and they talk about what it would be like to get something out of the way or to come up with a solution. And in a collaborative way, they discuss, they move the ball down the road, they come up with what's eventually termed as the big easy. Each group decides, well, the easiest obstacle we could move is this one. And then that team has to go move it and transcend into a different place.
And let's the shout out to Maureen Ennis, who not only was with us, we were introduced to her by Greg. She came in and facilitated these conversations with Greg and his team at 825. Greg, let me ask you this. And I hope I don't pull a muscle patting myself on the back, but we have, is it five years, I think, five or 6 years.
Yeah.
We've been working with Greg and his team on the 825 Leadership Academy. One of the things they do, we do coaching and training and Leadership Academy. One of the things that, and you pushed this and made it more real, is we ask everyone in that academy, every one of those leaders, all different kinds of roles, to come up with an initiative for change, innovation, improvement at 825. You said, Steve, let's move from people presenting the idea to people, Scarlett behind the camera, do me a favor, can we find that football again? You said, let's make them the quarterback of this initiative so that they don't just present about it. Watch live TV.
Is he going to catch it the second time?
Oh, two-handed. Good job.
Okay.
He doesn't have on his sticky gloves.
Okay. So here's the question, Greg. Why did you insist that everyone getting leadership coaching, that they be the quarterback of their initiative and lead it so it doesn't die when they're finished getting trained?
Well, their idea, their passion. So it's something they certainly want to have done. If it's a benefit to the organization, they own that piece of the organization. They own that piece of our future. And as somebody who works here in whatever their capacity, to think or know that they made a significant change that improved the whole is just a great way to build a culture, a great way to get the employees to buy into different facets of the organization. And it's like a self-feeding tornado. Once it happens, more people want to do it, more ideas hit the board, and it's ended up streamlining everything we do from a business perspective and the way we run our shop, whether it's in the union or in our funds office or at our training school. They just keep innovating, and the whole team just gets sharper.
Hey, Mary, remember you and I were debating 5 years ago, whenever it was, is everyone really a leader? Our great friend Larry Downs, who said to us, everyone needs to be a leader. And Mary said, no, sometimes you need doers.
I've changed my mind since then.
Mary's evolved. And I wrote about that in the chapter in Lessons in Leadership 2.0, the tough stuff. I'm so uncomfortable plugging the book. But let me ask you this, Greg. Do you buy into the fact that everyone at your local, in some form, has to be a leader and can't simply wait to be told what to do?
100%. Everybody's responsible for everything in their world, whether it's just getting yourself to work on time and ready to go. That's 100% on the individual. From how they execute during the day, that's 100% on them. They have to lead themselves through that. And as they go through their day, they will set examples to coworkers and the people at the desk to their left and their right about how they handle themselves. And that will just move through the entire organization.
And it makes people uncomfortable sometimes, but growth does not come from staying in your comfort zone. Mary, you got a couple minutes. Go ahead.
I would love to talk about grit. And Steve, I feel like I know it's the year of grit. We've been talking about grit. What does grit look like today and moving into the future with operating engineers? You talked about innovation. I would love to hear your perspective on grit and the operating engineers.
Well, grit is just the desire to move forward. We're moving into a technologically advanced world, and we have to lean into that, not away from it,
Right.
not shy away from it. We have to educate ourselves. We have to stay on the edge of technology. If we reeled back 50 years, our forefathers, they managed the change from steam engines to internal combustion engines, from cables moving backhoe buckets and bulldozer blades to hydraulics. Now we're getting into technology doing it, and we have to bear down. We have to learn. We have to train. We're a self-sustaining model where people who are accomplished train those that are coming through, like our apprentices and whatnot. So grit to me is embracing the future, meeting it head on, just dominating it, for lack of a better word, and doing what we've done for 126 years, which is learn the new technology, master the new technology, teach the new technology to the next generation, and they're going to have to do the same when it's their time up at bat.
And I also know that Greg believes this because in our leadership coaching, and Greg is one of the few CEOs, top level leaders who participates in the coaching with his folks. Grit is also, in addition to everything Greg just said, and I know he knows this because he lives it every day, when you get knocked down, when the initiative doesn't work out the way you hoped it would, when it fails, in quotes, you have no choice but to learn from it, grow, and not cry about it and not feel sorry for yourself, because that's not who Greg is either. Grit is just never, 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 as Churchill said, giving up. You agree with that, Greg? I'm just looking for you to agree with me on this.
Failure is just the next starting point, nothing else.
Hold on, Mary. There it is. That's the quote. Give it again, Greg. Let's go.
Failure is just the next starting point.
I told you every time we get that new quote, so thank you for that.
No
and
problem.
Also, every time he's on, thank you for introducing us to Extreme Ownership, which is a wonderful book written by two terrific ex-Navy SEALs. Greg, thank you, our friend. We'll talk soon about leadership and more.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Mary.
You got it. Stay with us. We'll be right back. This edition of Lessons in Leadership is made possible by the Vicino Leadership Institute at Seton Hall University, Prager Metis, Valley Bank, the International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 825, the North Ward Center, Jingoli Construction, the New Jersey Sharing Network, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, the Helix, Fedway Associates Inc., the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, Choose New Jersey, and Seton Hall University, showing the world what great minds can do since 1856.
This is Mary Gamba. If you want more leadership tips and tools, log on to stand-deliver.com. That's stand-deliver.com.
Promotional support for this edition of Lessons in Leadership with me, Steve Adubato, and my colleague Mary Gamba has been provided by NJ.com, NJBIA and New Jersey Business Magazine, CIANJ and Commerce Magazine, and the Meadowlands Chamber and Meadowlands Media. Mary Gamba, Steve Adubato. Mary, let's lead into this interview that we do with Tim Sullivan, who is the CEO of the New Jersey Economic Development Authority. I wonder what it's like. Think about this. The EDA, the Economic Development Authority, their job right now, as it has been for years, is to retain business in New Jersey, attract business to New Jersey. This is part of our initiative, This is New Jersey, that we're doing in cooperation with the folks at Choose New Jersey, a not-for-profit promoting economic development, economic activity in the state. Think about this, and Tim talks about this in the interview. How the heck do you do that when the tariff world is changing every day? It's hard to predict the next day, much less the next week or month or year. How the heck do you do that?
You try not to make too many uneducated guesses. You try not to panic. And what you do try to do is be strategic, be a global thinker, if you will. Think of everything in your orbit that may be impacted by the what ifs, and then plan accordingly and be ready to adapt, pivot on a dime when the unknown does happen and when it does become known.
To Mary's point, I like how people say, let's see how things play out. I get it. Trust me, I get it. But as leaders, and I will not get on my soapbox, but I'll tell you this, that strategy only goes so far because that's let's see how it plays out. In some ways, gives you new information and data points, intel, whatever you want to say, to make smarter decisions. But also, my view is sometimes waiting to see how things play out versus doing what you need to do to make things play out as best you can in the direction you believe you need to go in, knowing that many things are beyond your control. I fall into the latter category, Mary. I do.
Yeah. Nope.
Let's see how funding works out yeah, I know.
If you are truly a good leader and you are thinking, as you talk about the long game, you need to be prepared. You need to be just a global, again, thinker. You need to think about big picture and not just hope for the best.
You can be patient and have a sense of urgency at the same time. And that's what we talk about that and a whole range of other issues, including artificial intelligence and its connection to New Jersey business with Tim Sullivan, the CEO of the New Jersey Economic Development Authority. Let's check out that conversation with Tim. We're joined once again by Tim Sullivan, CEO of the New Jersey Economic Development Authority. Their website is up right now. Tim, good to see you.
Great to be with you, Steve.
You got it real quick, 30 seconds or less for people who may not know what the EDA is. What is it, particularly in these challenging times of 2025?
Economic Development Authority, now in our 51st year, part of the state government, part of Governor Murphy's team, advancing economic growth, economic diversification, supporting small businesses and innovation all throughout the state of New Jersey.
You've done this before. Hey, Tim, let's play word association. It is April 22nd, we're taping, be seen in May and beyond. I say tariffs, you say what?
Depends on which day it is, I suppose. It remains to be seen how this is all going to play out, but it's certainly an important factor driving New Jersey's economy forward and the global economy.
What are you saying? What are you hearing from the business leaders you deal with regarding tariffs?
Yeah, even more broadly than with regard to tariffs, I'm old enough to remember being lectured by the business community that stability and predictability is really important. And that's certainly something Governor Murphy has done his best to advance here in the great state of New Jersey for the last 7+ years. And uncertainty is bad for investment. It's bad for confidence in knowing what the future holds. And so I think predictability and stability are really important.
It's interesting. You and your colleagues, there have been several missions, economic development related, folks that choose New Jersey together with the EDA and others involved. South Asia, you and your colleagues went. How much different do you think the conversation would be or the meetings about potentially bringing businesses here, doing business there, impacted greatly by tariffs, correct?
It's certainly going to be a factor. It's less of a factor in New Jersey versus North Carolina versus California, as much as it is, am I going to set up manufacturing in the States or in, some other country or keeping it in the home country? And we see tons of opportunity. And that with or without tariffs, we see huge opportunities to continue to expand manufacturing in New Jersey. That's something Governor Murphy's been focused on since day one, long before there was a, national tariffs discussion.
Let's talk about expansion in New Jersey, particularly around innovation, discovery. Our mutual friend Chris Palladino over at DevCo and the folks at the Helix, and we'll put up the Helix website right now so people can find out more. What is the New Jersey AI Hub, and how is it connected to innovation and discovery in the state?
Yeah, really exciting new project and initiative that if you're judged by the company you keep, this is a great one for the state of New Jersey and the EDA. So this is the EDA on behalf of the state, Princeton University, Microsoft, and CoreWeave, which is a homegrown success story, now a publicly traded company in the AI space. And so this is going to help drive and position New Jersey as a global leader in the research and development and acceleration of innovation and startups in the AI space, both pure play AI companies that are in the data center and the compute and large language model business, but also the application side of the world. How is this going to transform drug discovery? What's it going to mean for clean energy? And I don't know the answer to those questions, but I know it's going to mean something.
It's interesting, Tim. You mentioned clean energy. Is it clear in your mind? You folks at the EDA don't do public policy, but you're a bank for a lot of folks and provide economic resources to make things happen. But offshore wind, as it relates to the Governor Murphy's Clean Energy Initiative, is offshore wind, are offshore wind projects dead?
Well, I'd say, you certainly, to have offshore wind work in the United States and certainly in the Northeast, you need to have really strong alignment between the federal government, state government, and the local government, whether that's the state of New Jersey or any other state. We very clearly do not have that right now, which is disappointing. We had that for 4 years during the Biden-Harris administration, because I think, and this has, I think, less to do with clean energy and more to do with economic opportunity than anything else.
Explain the economic part of that, Tim, for folks who say it's purely an environmental policy, an energy policy, but it is more than that.
Yeah, it's an opportunity. Offshore wind represents an opportunity for tens of thousands of new manufacturing jobs, particularly in South Jersey. And if you don't like offshore wind, I think it behooves you to have a plan B for 10 to 20,000 manufacturing jobs in South Jersey, in a place that could surely use it. And right now, I'm not aware of one. If there is one, I'll work like hell on it on behalf of the governor and everybody else. But there's not opportunities like offshore wind to manufacture the turbines and the components that go in them. There's thousands of supply chain components that go into an offshore wind turbine. The debate about how and where and when is obviously, of course, a robust debate. But we got the governor's offshore wind target for New Jersey is 11 gigawatts of power. That's a lot of power.
Translate that, Tim.
It's about that's enough to power 11 gigawatts is enough to power every home in New Jersey.
Okay.
We're not there yet. We don't have any installed. There's also a misperception out there about how many wind turbines have been installed off the coast of New Jersey. If you listen to some folks, they would tell you that we're already sort of at full capacity. There's not a single wind turbine off the coast of New Jersey.
Not a single wind.
No, and that's irritating and frustrating because it's a huge opportunity to generate clean renewable energy and power the South Jersey economy. But there's none in yet.
Elections do have consequences. So how about this? We've been involved in a child care initiative. We've talked to you about this before. The first 1,000 days policy coalition will come up right now. A group of folks very involved and interested in creating an environment in the state where quality, affordable, accessible child care improves, right? Connect, once again, I've asked you this question 10 times, but it keeps evolving, particularly in these days. Connect the child care challenge / the opportunities to improve it to the economic vitality of our state and our workforce.
Yeah, I mean, forget for a second that childcare is extremely important. Quality childcare, early childhood education is incredibly important for the development of our kids, which is, the most important thing in the world you can focus on. It's also economic infrastructure. And we saw that during the pandemic. It loomed largely. When the childcare system wasn't working, it was like not having electricity coming out of the walls or the roads not working. People can't go to work if their kids don't have someplace safe and reliable and affordable to go during the day. And that's borne out in data all across the country. Again, during the pandemic and now after. And so investing in New Jersey's childcare infrastructure and capacity and quality is a win-win, both from early childhood education perspective, but also from an economic infrastructure perspective. Folks can't go to work and show up at the office or show up at the job site if there's not someplace for their kids to be that's safe and reliable.
Give me a minute or less on NJ Cool. What is the $15 million pilot project? What is it?
Yep, that's exactly right, and it's one of our energy efficiency initiatives. And one of the things that's most important, and when we think about the cost of energy, obviously on everyone's mind these days, the least expensive energy is the energy you don't use. So whether that's retrofitting old buildings or thinking about new ways to generate, to do your HVAC system in a building that is more energy efficient, it's a huge opportunity. And also create a lot of jobs. Retrofitting buildings, creating energy efficiency is a huge opportunity.
Tim Sullivan is the CEO of the New Jersey Economic Development Authority. Is it fair to say, Tim, I know Michelle Sekirker referred to the head of the Business and Industry Association in a previous segment, referred to it as are you a bank, if you will, for businesses?
It's certainly one of the things we do. We make loans, we can issue bonds, but we also issue grants, we issue tax credits, we make all kinds of investments in New Jersey's economic competitiveness. So we are certainly a source of financial support for the business community.
That's the New Jersey EDA. Thank you, Tim. And by P.S., to disclose, a longtime underwriter of our economic development programming. Thank you, Tim.
Great to be with you, Steve. Thanks for having me as always.
You got it. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Promotional support for this edition of Lessons in Leadership with me, Steve Adubato, and my colleague, Mary Gamba, has been provided by NJ.com, NJBIA and New Jersey Business Magazine, CIANJ and Commerce Magazine, and the Meadowlands Chamber and Meadowlands Media. Mary, we have a couple of minutes on the back end of the show. I want to plug something that's coming up in a future edition of Lessons in Leadership. Through the auspices and the generosity of our partners and friends at Fedway, they have their annual Fedway President's Club, where the teams and the people who just knock the ball out of the park. Where's my Yankee baseball? There it is.
Oh, I knew it was coming.
They knock the ball out of the park. When it comes to sales, hit all kinds of record numbers, annual President's Club they have. And this year, the person they had, and I MC that event for several years. This year, this is a great book it's called The Yankee Years. Mm-hmm. Joe Torre and Tom Verducci, our good friend, helped him write this book. I got to sit down and do a 1-hour Q&A, so-called fireside chat. There was no fireplace. And sat down with Joe Torre and talked about leadership in baseball. 85 years old. Mary, dates, times, at-bats, innings, players, positions, how he was feeling in the moment. Every World Series was able to recall it. It was amazing. We're going to have an interview with our Fedway friends at a future taping talking about that interview. Why do you think Joe Torre at 85 is still seen as an iconic leader?
There were no skeletons in his closet. Unfortunately, for many of the great baseball players and others, skeletons will eventually come out. Superstars, anybody that's in the limelight. And for Joe Torre, he has been the real deal. He has been with the Safe at Home Foundation, He started the Safe at Home Foundation. I know. And he's a philanthropist, and he's still active. Like you said, going to be 85. My dad's going to be 85 this year, too. Huge Yankee fans. Shout out to the Yankees. And it really has to do with just being a good person. And that's what Joe Torre is. And that's what he represents.
Yeah. And we talked about what it was like to lead and manage different players with different personalities, from Derek Jeter to David Cohn, to David Wells, who was incorrigible at times. And listening to Joe Torre talk about how he managed and led that team and those players who were so different. And also the players of today. One more quick thing about him. He said Aaron Judge, the great Aaron Judge, is very much like Derek Jeter as a team player, a captain, a leader, team first, regardless of statistics. So we'll be doing that segment with our friends from Fedway, talking about that interview in greater detail about Joe Torre. But we're fans of Joe Torre. I mean, he's just awesome. That's it. Whether you're a Yankee fan or Scarlett, I know you're a Met fan, but here it is. Mary, the Met fan, Scarlett, behind the camera, just touched the Yankee ball signed by
That
Harry
was so
Yankee.
tricky. You had that trick up your sleeve.
Yeah, and now I don't know what's going to happen to the Mets, but I know the Yankees are going to the World Series again. I'm Steve Adubato. That's Mary Gamba. We'll see you next time. This edition of Lessons in Leadership is made possible by the Vicino Leadership Institute at Seton Hall University, Prager Metis, Valley Bank, the International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 825, the North Ward Center, Jingoli Construction, the New Jersey Sharing Network, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, the Helix, Fedway Associates Inc., the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, Choose New Jersey, and Seton Hall University, showing the world what great minds can do since 1856.
This is Mary Gamba. If you want more leadership tips and tools, log on to stand-deliver.com. That's stand-deliver.com.
Promotional support for this edition of Lessons in Leadership with me, Steve Adubato, and my colleague Mary Gamba has been provided by NJ.com, NJBIA and New Jersey Business Magazine, CIANJ and Commerce Magazine, and the Meadowlands Chamber and Meadowlands Media.